Well, good afternoon everybody, and a very warm welcome back to my global kitchen. It's been a while, but as some of you probably know, I've had a few health challenges in recent weeks, and at the moment I'm slowly but surely recovering from a nasty bout of pneumonia, but definitely on the mend now. But we're taking a bit of a change of direction and a change of style for the next few weeks. You won't see me jumping up and down so much in the kitchen, more sitting here doing stuff, sitting down outside until I get back to even better health and fitness, I hope. And I won't be doing anything too fancy in terms of recipes or too ambitious. So instead I plan to focus, at least over the next few weeks, on some very traditional British dishes, including a few that I'd planned anyway for the holiday period. So they're doubling up not only as videos but as stuff we actually want or need for the holidays. So where to begin our trip round the British Isles? Well, as the son of a very proud and indeed very persuasive Yorkshireman, there is really only one place to start, isn't there? So apologies to our Lancastrian cousins and others, but be assured I do plan to visit many other counties, including Lancashire, in the coming weeks. But today we're going to do a very simple and traditional dish from God's own county, Yorkshire, using butter, syrup, sugar, oats, ginger, flour, and an egg. Now, if it wasn't for the flour and the egg, you might have guessed, not unreasonably, that I was going to make flapjack, because that's basically what flapjack is. But I'm not, because there is flour and there are eggs, or an egg. But I plan to do something which is much less known than flapjack, at least outside of Yorkshire and outside of the north of England. And the name of the dish is Parkin. So let's have a quick check on the equipment we need to make Parkin. So the equipment we need for today is a chopping board, a knife, a bowl, a wooden spoon, a saucepan, a jug, a baking tray and some baking paper. So we're going to start by putting our butter, our sugars, and as you can maybe see there, I'm using some dark brown sugar and some golden sugar, and then our syrup, into a saucepan. Should be about right. So that's now going to go into the kitchen, onto the hob, and just warm up very gently so that the butter melts and then the sugar melts into the butter, and then put it to one side just to cool down a little bit before we use it. And in the meantime, I'm just going to, here I've got some baking powder, some ginger powder and just a tiny pinch of salt. So that's going to go in with the flour, and then I'm going to take an egg, and here I've got just a little bit of milk in the jug. I'm going to add one egg, lovely orange egg, that's that. So how come Parkin is so well known and eaten in Yorkshire and in other parts of the north, but is almost unknown down south? Well, the simple answer is the other ingredient, which is the oats, which I'm now going to also add to my flour, because historically in the northern England, as in Scotland, oats were the traditional grain. They were the main grain which was grown, whereas further south it was wheat. So anything made with oats generally is from either the north of England or, of course, very commonly from Scotland. And the original sweetener for Parkin would have been honey, because that was really the only sweetener which existed in England for centuries. But obviously sugar was eventually found and imported, and they started using syrup and also treacle, dark treacle, which is fairly traditional, but you can't get that, or I haven't been able to find it here, which is why, as you saw earlier, I used a little bit of the dark brown sugar to make up for the fact I don't have any dark treacle. But that should be fine anyway with the golden syrup. And then I've also got some stem ginger, which I'm going to chop up as well and add in at the end, just to make it even more gingery, because you can't make it more gingery than you can. The more ginger the better. So that's the ingredients, that's the method. Let's have a full ingredients check. And our ingredients today are 200 grams of butter, 200 grams of golden syrup, 85 grams of dark brown sugar, 85 grams of light brown sugar, 100 grams of rolled oats, 250 grams of self-raising flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, quarter of a teaspoon of salt, 1 egg, 4 teaspoons of milk, 1 tablespoon of ground ginger, and around 75 grams of chopped stem ginger. Okay, so here we've got our pan of butter and sugar and syrup, and to that we're going to add our oats and flour mixture. We'll add about half of it and then start stirring it in. One important thing to know about oats is that they are traditionally harvested at the end of October, beginning of November really. So well, the original pagan or Celtic festival of Samhain was to celebrate the end of the harvest. So they used to eat either Parkin or or something very similar around that time, together with dancing and bonfires and things like that. The Christian Church then moved in and reappropriated those dates for All Saints' Day, All Souls' Day, and to some extent Martinmas, which is really also the celebration of the end of the harvest period. So it was reassigned to them, and then of course a few hundred years later, Guy Fawkes and his crew gave us an entirely new reason to have bonfires and do things, because we then had bonfire night, or Guy Fawkes night, on the 5th of November, and now very traditionally that's when Parkin is eaten. So that's mixed in. We'll now add our milk and egg, which will make it slightly easier to stir. There we go. And then give that a good mix round. And then finally we'll add our chopped ginger. Give that a good mix as well. And we're almost there. And now we're going to pour the mixture into our baking tray, which we've got here. and that's then going to go into the oven for about an hour on about 160 degrees, so not a hot oven, but it should be ready 45 minutes to an hour. Now the other good thing about Parkin is that unlike most cakes which go stale and dry the longer you leave them, Parkin gets softer and juicier, which is why I'm making this 5 days before we need it, because after about 5 days it should be perfect. So it's not something you need to do at the last minute. You can do it a few days in advance and it's all the better for it. So another good reason for enjoying Parkin. We're going to take ours to Las Palmas on Sunday and offer it up to our church friends at the Christmas Carol service then. So that's it from me. Take care, see you next time, cheers, and I'll leave you with a little bit of music from Sheffield and Yorkshire's finest, the band Pulp. See you soon.
She came from Greece, she had a thirst for knowledge. She studied sculpture at St. Martin's College, that's where I